Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. We are joined now by Austin Price of Volquest.com. We're also joined by Ben McKee of Volquest.com. I'll tell y'all right now, I'm going to lay down the rules right now at the beginning of this interview. Y'all will not be double teaming on me. It's still called the Swain Event, not the Volquest event. Austin Price and Ben, do y'all hear me? Good morning, Austin.
I don't even know what to say. Swain, we're just, Ben and I are just blessed to be in your presence on any day.
I think this was a move to try to take over the Swain Event. I think you guys hired Ben to Volquest to be able to take over the Swain Event and make it the Volquest event. I think that's what y'all trying to do over there.
No, I'm trying to stay out of the hourly phone calls and questions business. I do that enough on the general's quarters. So we're, I think that we have worked out though that if Ben is having to miss due to Volquest obligations, that your new co-host will be your friend Andy.
Wrong. Wrong. 1,000%. Hey, Austin, I hope you're ready for that smoke. Andy about to send your way. You mentioned his name.
Andy's not going to be sending any smoke. Ray UGA instigated Andy, and Andy's Twitter account is currently suspended.
He'll make another one. He'll be back.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
He'll be back.
That was the video last week.
There's been many videos.
It's hard to keep up, man. It's hard to keep up with the videos.
Oh, man.
Hard to keep up. I'll let Ben keep up with him, though. He likes to keep up with him and send him to his friends. But speaking of suspension, Austin, do you anticipate that Danny White's going to have to deal with some outside pressure and how he handles him and Huepel, how they handle the Aaron Beasley suspension?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, again, I said this on our podcast. There have been college kids that got in fights before and got in trouble. There have been college kids that, got in trouble for drugs or alcohol and got in trouble. What he's allegedly being accused of, and again, until this point, he's innocent until proven guilty. He's, obviously indefinitely suspended, for the stuff that he's been alleged of. But I mean, that just takes it to a whole different level. Like, just when you think you've seen it all, nah. I mean, one of the most bizarre stories, and you can bet PETA will be involved. I mean, that's just going to happen. I mean, like, they look to latch on to things like this, and and if he did that to the animal, then something's amiss with him. I mean, like, again, that's ridiculous. So, but again, I caution everybody until all the facts come out. I mean, don't condemn the kid. Like, this is a wait and see. Tennessee's taking a wait and see approach. That's why he's no longer around the football team until all the facts come out. So, this is a bizarre situation, to say the least.
Yeah, just when you thought you've heard it all, it's been crazy. Here's the thing, though, about the reality of a football program. You've had a couple incidents in the last couple months, right? You had the 3 or 4 players that recently got in trouble, including quarterback, linebacker, young guys. They're suspended. That happened. During the season, you had Kayvon Bennett and his situation, right? And then now Aaron Beasley. The truth is 95 to 98% of your football team, they're doing everything right. They're going to class, they're getting good grades, they're abiding by the law, they're walking old ladies across the street, busy highways and busy streets. Like they're doing it, opening doors up for the ladies around campus. Like they're doing the right things, most of them. But then when you have something like this and you have two in a stretch of 3 or 4 weeks, it paints like a different picture that's not necessarily realistic. So, Austin, there are guys doing the right thing. Most of them are doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And sadly, as far as the original 4 that got in trouble, I mean, 3 of them were midtermers. So, I mean, technically they should still be in their final semester of high school, and one of which was not 18 yet and is now turned 18. The other one was wrapping up his freshman year. So basically, at the oldest that you could have had was a 19-year-old. The rest of them were 18 or 17. Again, we all make dumb decisions when we're younger. So, not that condones what any of those kids, were involved with or allegedly involved with. It doesn't. But at the same time, it's kind of like, when you talked about Caden Salter, I mean, like, with what all he went through with his dad, who knows where he's at mentally? And,
Correct.
It's just one of those situations where, it's not a great look on anybody. It obviously is not a great look for the program, especially right now where Tennessee's trying to dig themselves out of this hole and really kind of find some footing as a program. So, the best thing that can happen is, everybody get through their issues, get back to the weight room, get back to the practice field, and just continue to go to work. Because, I mean, you're right. Most of these kids are putting in the time, the effort, to kind of turn this thing around. And we'll see if the rest of these guys can join at some point.
Got a couple linebackers suspended, but you have a couple banged up. Roman Harrison and Jeremy Banks, man, any updates on kind of, when those guys are expected to join the team and be out there at practice, or are they holding these guys back to be very, very careful so they don't wind up hurting themselves more and being out longer?
Well, I don't think there'll be full contact at any point during spring practice, Jason. I mean, I think you'll see them do some stuff over the course of spring, whether it be just some individual work or work on the side. But as far as 11-on-11 stuff, I don't think you're going to see that. That's the thing is like, I mean, obviously you'd love to have them, but you'd much rather have them for fall because they are way thin at that position.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'd rather just try to meander your way through spring, understand you're not very good at that position, understand you're very thin at that position, and, kind of work your way up to fall camp. So, for those 2 kids, I think it's about being healthy at the right time, more so than it is about being healthy right now.
What about the other 2 that are suspended? Do you anticipate those 2 being back at some point by the end of spring practice?
Which 2 are you talking about? Martavis French?
Yes, and Willis, the other 2 inside linebackers that are unavailable.
We're talking about Willis.
I think all those kids are going to have to go before student conduct. I think there's a chance that they're all back before spring ends. But more than anything, I think that you'll definitely see them back for fall camp. Again, they made a poor choice, and they're having to deal with the consequences of it. But it seems like there's some light on at the other end of the tunnel at this point.
And then just kind of a byproduct of the depth issues at inside linebacker, do you think that will put a sense of urgency on maybe moving a guy to the linebacker position? I know the coaches have all been in unison about communicating that they want to kind of see what the players do at their current position, but with the lack of depth, do you think that just switching somebody to inside linebacker, the recent developments could expedite that process?
Well, I think that, I think their heart's in the right place about wanting to leave kids where they want to play and where they left off last season. But you're right. I mean, at some point, do you as a coaching staff or do the players or player, come to you and say, okay, hey, for the betterment of the team and for the betterment of my career, it might behoove me to move positions. The problem is right now with the current status of the program. You're already down several scholarships. You run the risk of, losing kids if you move them around, because right now more than ever, kids feel like, I'm playing what I want to play, and no coach is going to tell me what to play. If he tells me what to play, I'll just leave, because everybody, the knee-jerk reaction is when things aren't perfect, and most of the time when you're asked to move positions, things aren't perfect, is let's get in the portal. So, I think, to me, it all depends on how the kid's going to handle it. And I think all college coaches, not just Tennessee's, are very cognizant of that right now, because it is a weird time in college football, because kids, one, are empowered, but two, have an out for the first time. Now, the question is, do they eventually, I know you've passed the measures, but they've not officially passed the one-time transfer. So, like, if it were to get tabled again, then, like, all of a sudden, you see all these kids that have left Tennessee, all those kids at Oklahoma, they're in a much tougher spot. So, can the NCAA and everybody get that across the finish line for the one-time transfer? That's something I'm really interested to see how all that plays out.
Austin Price, Volquest.com here. His time is brought to you by Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty. I got a very important question, probably a more important question than any question that has been asked so far in this interview. Since Ben McKee is now part of Volquest.com, what is going to be the initiation process? So when I was a freshman, we had to be dunked into a very, very cold ice tub while being slapped on the butt by wet slippers on our way to the cold tub. What is Ben going to have to do, Austin, to earn his way and be looked upon as one of you all at Volquest?
He doesn't get his harassment and hazing from anybody at Volquest. He just gets it from the general's quarters,
Just good enough.
who've already taken him to task. That group's all the hazing you'll ever need in life.
What did you do? You just got there.
Well, it was what I had not done yet, and that was I did not have an avatar. But Austin helped me correct that and win back over the general's quarters.
I've been holding our good friend Jesse Simonton. God love him. We all know he grew up in the heart of Georgia, and he's a Georgia fan. And he in the last 6 or 8 months, at some point on his Instagram, there was a picture of him in a Georgia sweater, and it was like on the Instagram story. So it was going to be something that disappeared, like, over a 24-hour period. It wouldn't stay there. And so I screenshotted it, and I've held it. And, I said, here, Ben, you use this. And Ben's like, well, Jesse get mad. I said, Jesse doesn't get mad. He's had people on our site tell him to drink bleach before, and he gets unaffected by any of that stuff. He just,
I thought he was a Gator. I thought he was a Gator fan.
No. He is a Georgia fan who moved to Gainesville when he was, 10 or 12 years old, went to Florida, but he's not a Florida fan.
So he went to Florida.
And he's a Georgia fan.
Golly.
That's why they call him
the Gator Dog.
Gator Dog. Wow.
So that is my initiation process is simply having to interact on the general's quarters.
Well, you'll be going through initiation your whole entire time, because that's what AP does.
Yes, AP is still going through it. Brent Hubbs, the GOAT, still going through it.
Yeah, I know, man. Who has the lead at the quarterback position right now, Austin?
I think it's way too early to tell. I think there's still a good chance they, look at bringing a quarterback in after spring practice if things don't, if things aren't perfect at that position. So, right now I think it's still totally wide open, Jason.
What about Brian Maurer? Everybody's talking about maybe him taking advantage of this new lease on football life. Do you think that he has matured? I know it's kind of been a short time period since Pruitt left and whatnot, but we haven't really seen the the tweets or the Instagram stories of late, do you think that he's on the verge of truly turning a corner in that regard?
Well, the proof will be in the pudding. I will be interested to kind of see how the rest of spring goes for him, Ben. I mean, I really think that this is something where he's always flashed. He flashed with the last staff, but can he be consistent enough? Can he not put the offense in harm's way? I think all that will determine whether he plays more than just a little bit of flash in practice.
Austin Price, Volquest.com here. Anything of note to mention as far as recruiting for the 2022 class, Austin? I'm here on Volquest.com, and of course, Tennessee basketball had a huge pickup with Justin Powell transferring from Auburn. But as far as football, with the high school recruits, what's the latest there?
Well, they're just trying to get somebody across the finish line. I mean, there's still yet to be a first commitment of the Josh Huepel era. It's and part of that is the fact that Tennessee's just kind of in limbo as a program. I mean, two things are killing Tennessee right now. One's the dead period, so not being able to have kids come to campus and feel you, see you, interact with you, see what you're all about. There's only so much you can do on Zoom. And then the other thing is just the uncertainty over the investigation. I mean, Danny White, Josh Huepel, Tennessee, as a football program can't accurately tell prospects it's a 1-year ban, it's a 2-year ban, it's a 60-year ban, which, I mean, it's not, definitely not the latter. But, I mean, I think that, programs that are recruiting against Tennessee right now are very much using that to their advantage. I mean, I've talked to several prospects who hear from programs and are, and kids don't know what to believe. I mean, they talk to, Tennessee, and Tennessee obviously tries to be upfront and honest with them, but also give them what they are hoping is the case. And then, they talk to these other programs and they're telling them 3-year bowl ban, 4-year bowl ban. Nobody gets a 3 or 4-year bowl ban. I mean, that would be the equivalent of the death penalty, which is what SMU got back in the 80s. So, I just go back to the fact that, kids and parents, they don't know, and so they're having to take a wait-and-see approach, which is why Tennessee is, being talked about in recruiting. They have, a little bit of traction, but they can't get full traction until, either somebody pulls the trigger and starts a domino, which could potentially be next Friday. Keaton and Destin Wade, they're the twins from Summit. Continue to think Tennessee trends really well there, and I think Tennessee trends for a couple of guys. But at the same time, until Tennessee can get some momentum, some traction in recruiting, it's hard to see them really, start to snowball in that area.
Do you think maybe it's best if Tennessee is like, all right, man, here's our sanctions. We're going to self-impose now earlier than later, so that way teams won't be able to just make up penalties and Tennessee not really be able to defend themselves. I mean, a school can say anything, and Tennessee can't deny it 100% with certainty. Do you think that maybe it's best that Tennessee just come on out and say, all right, this is what our penalty is going to be?
Well, I don't think you want to do that either. It's all I'm saying, you're just stuck. I mean, you're rock and hard place. That's where Tennessee's football program is right now. If you come out and you take a bowl ban, then kids can leave without penalty. Remember when Ole Miss, went into their bowl ban, and you saw the quarterback left and went to Michigan, and it's a slippery slope, and so Tennessee right now is just trying to figure out the best way to navigate it, and I do think if they can figure out how to get a couple of the in-state players in the boat, then that definitely helps them gain a little more traction.
Austin Price, Volquest.com. Austin, let's obviously there's different faces in the building. There's a new AD, there's a new head coach. Staff is 95% new. Got some guys that were held over. What are some of the differences that you are seeing, even if it's small, things that you have noticed from the previous staff to this staff?
Well, I'm changing philosophy. I think that this current staff is right now just really trying to build up the confidence. It's walk before we can run. And understand that this is a process and that this could take a while. And I think that's the way you have to approach it. I mean, like at some point, and I said this back when, even before before any of the investigation stuff happened with Coach Pruitt, like as a program, Tennessee, even if they have a down year, you got to understand that this, there's a slow build. Like there's no quick fix. There's no pixie dust, to put it in the Disney frame for myself. There's no pixie dust to just sprinkle on it and go, we're better. We're going to Atlanta. There's nothing to that. So, I think it's just understand that, that it's a slow build. I think this coaching staff understands that it's going to be a slow build. Now, does that mean that, they're going to only win 4 games this year? No, I don't think that. But I'm just saying, like, that it's not going to just look like, poof, and you're good. And, you may take one step forward and then one step back, but then you'll be able to take another 2 steps forward. I think that's the one thing they've realized since they've gotten here. And then 2, I think that the really conscious effort to make this state a priority and really work this state from top to bottom, and not only the 22s, but they are all over the 23s and the recruiting office. I thought the last staff's recruiting office, it was just too young. I thought Drew Hughes, Danny Stiff, those 2 guys did really good work. Then J.T. Hill came in. But besides the kind of the top 2, it was just a bunch of kids. Whereas, like, with this staff, your number 4, number 5 person has significant real-world experience in a recruiting office. Like a guy like Trey Johnson, he has run his own shop at Liberty and been a major player at USC. So, I think that's maybe the biggest difference between the last staff and this staff is maybe just not that the last staff didn't have quality people, because I think they did, and I just think that there's more depth there on your staff, especially at the support staff level.
One thing I noticed, Austin, on Saturday, I did not mention on the show, 2 Saturdays ago. One thing I mentioned is, like, when I was talking to Huepel, like, he was taking notes, and I noticed Trey Johnson. I didn't officially meet him, but I noticed that he was observing practice and just taking a bunch of notes. And, like, I caught that. Looks like these guys are attention to detail and, create notes for themselves to be able to go back and reference, whether it's, hey, man, here's a piece of advice, or this is what we did, or this is what I noticed. And, you have an idea, you jot it down, boom, you can go back and revisit it. And then, with Trey Johnson, I have no clue what he was writing down, but, like, he had a bunch of notes just watching practice. And so it just seems to me that this staff is very attention to detail. And at this point, man, you really can't overlook anything because you're really building everything from scratch. So I did notice that.
Yeah, again, I think it's just a matter of, learning the new environment you're in and understanding, the key players you got to know, understanding, little things, just understanding things about Knoxville, understanding traditions at Tennessee, understanding, history. I get most coaches come here and they understand who Peyton Manning is. They understand the national brand that is Tennessee football, but, like, do you understand all the little things and the people behind the scenes, the Max Parrots, the Hawks, the Roger Frazier, Carmen Tagano, all those people that you meet over there on campus, Barry Rice, Link Hudson, do you understand those things? And I think that this staff, and not that the last staff didn't, because I think Coach Pruitt and them knew who all those people were. But I think that when you get into a new situation, anytime there's a new staff that comes in, they're smart to take notes and start to learn and figure things out.
Yeah. Good stuff as always, AP. A little different feel today, man, since Ben McKee is a part of the team. So congratulations to Ben, man. You did a good job. You kept him out of the transfer portal. He didn't even go into the portal. Straight to Volquest.
It was not tampering.
It was not. I'm surprised you didn't make a commitment video for him.
If we'd thought about it, we would have.
Have him in front of Neyland Stadium. Committing to Volquest. After much consideration, I'm going to the University of Volquest University. Like the one player that said, University of LSU. That would have been great.
You good?
No, I'm not good, man. I feel like a 65-year-old dude who's been smoking cigarettes for the last 40 years. About to cough. Oh, man. All right, AP. Good stuff as always, man. Enjoy your football coverage.
We'll do it. You have a good day there, Swisher Sweet.
All right, see you, man.